What's up, guys? Tim Halston with DragBoss Garage. Welcome back to the channel. So I'll kind of tell you where we're at. It's kind of a rare instance right now that's going on. And the fact that I kind of had to rush through this to get this organized. And this is a phone interview with Mike Fons. Now here's how it worked. Mike and I have been talking for a short time now, the past couple months, I should say. And we had made plans to do a live chat, and then his schedule and my schedule, the way it worked out, and actually the technical issues with computers, because, you know, Mike's almost 80 now, or 70. How old are you, Mike?
78.
78. So he's not astute to some of the modern innovations of the internet and YouTube. So we said what we're going to do is do a phone interview first to kind of get things going, to kind of pave the way, so to speak. And hopefully, maybe we might even do a live chat tomorrow with video, because it's people love to see the other person who they're talking to, not just see me looking at me and saying, hey, yeah, that's who this is. So we'll see if people show up and start commenting. But let's talk about it. So Mike Fons won Pro Stock back in 1971 with, what did you have, a Challenger, Mike?
Yep, Challenger.
Okay.
71 Challenger.
Now, I met Mike through... I want to say it was Muskie.
Yep.
Who told me that, hooked me up with you, if I'm not mistaken. And that's Tom. What's his last name?
Style.
Style. That's it. Yes.
Steil.
And what's up, Ed's Machine? We already have a subscriber here, so we'll see how many people we get showing up. Actually, there's already 10 people watching this, Mike. So, so Tom hooked me up with your number, and we had texted back and forth, and it never came to fruition. So then I did a live chat with Mike Keener, who was with the Checkmate Camaro. He was partners with Paul McCure and the team Checkmate. They did a lot of modified production, like the kings of modified production. So we had talked. He knew you, I think, through your sister, and I said, well, let's see if we can get Mike. And then I just happened to call you, and you answered the phone today, and you said, no, let's do this. Let's try doing a live chat and see what happens. So I put out a million thanks to you, Mike, for taking the time so that we could at least start a preliminary discussion, because I'm trying to record this history on my YouTube channel so guys can go back and review this and listen to this when they're in the garage. So guys that never even heard of Pro Stock, you know, they weren't even born until 99 or 2000, can go back and see what it was like in 1971. So, like I said, we already got, now we're up to 11 people. So you started racing when, Mike? 67, 66?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. What'd you start racing? Mopar, Chevy, Ford?
That was a Chevy. It was a 62 409 Super Sport.
Okay. 409, 2 4s?
Yep.
Nice. Now, did you have any issues with oiling with those engines, or they ran without issue?
Nope, I never had any trouble with them. I had good people around me right from the start. I never had trouble.
Do you like good people? Were you hooked up with Booth and Aaron's at any time?
Yes. It wasn't Booth Aaron's then. It was a guy named Ron Reeder, owned Midwest Auto Parts.
Yes.
That's how we got started.
That's exactly what Mike Keener told me. Went down there and with $500 got a new intake manifold, a camshaft, carburetor, everything for his car.
Yeah.
So that was the place to be, Reader's place, huh?
Yep.
Okay. Nice. So when did you get into Mopar? How did that come about?
Well, I stuck with Chevrolet and Dick Aaron's.
Yep.
Through 1970.
Okay.
And I won the World Finals in '69 in a modified production with that car.
Wow.
It was my first World Championship. And then 1970 didn't go like I wanted it to, so I got a chance to switch to Chrysler, and that's when I did that.
I think Ronnie Sox won 70. If I'm not...
No, that was the first year. It was Jenkins.
Jenkins, yes. Okay, my mistake.
Yeah. I'm not sure if Sox ever won it.
I swear he won, but
I defeated him and Herb McCandless
Okay.
in 71. So I know he didn't win that year.
And they were both driving Mopars. What you had a Challenger? What year was that?
71.
Okay. Hemi?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Nice. What'd you think of the Hemi, Pro Stock Hemi?
I liked it because I had, like I said, I had good people, so I never had any trouble with them, and had all the latest and greatest equipment thanks to the Chrysler guys, and so I did well.
Now, were you sponsored by Chrysler?
Yeah, through the Rod Shop.
Rod Shop. Okay. Okay. What'd you turn those things? What'd you shift at? How high were those things running for RPM back then?
I'm inclined to say they were less than 8,000. I think we ran them in the high 7,000 somewhere.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
That was, there was no roller cams yet. There was flat tappets. We've come a long way.
Jesus, I wonder when the roller cam came in. It had to be 72 or 3.
Yeah, about then. Yeah.
Okay.
Crane our first good cams were Crane cams.
I think the real limitation back then had to be valve springs.
Yes.
You think so?
Yes, I do. We all had trouble with valve springs.
How often were you changing them? Do you remember?
Oh, no, I don't.
Okay.
Pretty often. Every time the heads came off, they got new springs.
Yep.
I remember that.
And they were all they were stick cars, right?
Yes, up until 73. We switched to Lenkos at Winter Nationals in 73.
Where'd you get the Lenko from?
Right from the Lenko. We drove right to the factory, picked it up.
In 73?
Yep.
And then, but if you picked it up, where'd you put it? How'd you get it in the car? Did you have to bring it all the way back to your shop in Michigan, or?
No, I went to, there's a guy named Ron Butler, has a shop in Los Angeles, and he had been doing some Chrysler work. He built some of the early cars, so he was familiar with the Chrysler stuff. So I camped on his doorstep for a few days, and we got her in there.
Nice. Now, right now we got like 23 or 24 people already sitting here listening to us talk. And on the side, you don't see this, but on the side are a bunch of comments. So I'm going to kind of go through a couple things and see if you can enlighten us, but maybe even expound on this. One of the guys here, Integrity News, says, now we see why people like Ford, for instance, Bob Glidden, Bill Elliott, why they left Ford and went to other companies for sponsorship. And actually, I'm making a video on that. I won't get into that. But I can tell you since I'm a Ford guy, that, yeah, Glidden did leave Ford and went to Chrysler because Chrysler came up to him and said, listen, Bob, we'll give you this, this, and this. We'll pay for you. We'll do this. Ford otherwise did not give Glidden anything, or any of the racers for that matter. What did Chrysler do for you? Do you remember what they did for you, or what kind of things did they offer you?
Well, I wish I could tell you specifically, but my contract was with the Rod Shop. But I do know that anything I could order out of the Chrysler catalog, that was the very beginnings of what became the Direct Connection.
Direct Connection, yes.
Yeah, well, it was called something else now. A guy named Brian Schramm over at Chrysler ran that high-performance parts stuff.
Okay.
And pretty much anything we could find that he had access to, we could get.
Were you running steel heads or aluminum heads back then?
They were all aluminum.
Okay. All right. Did they have a lot of port work done, do you know of?
Yeah, I wouldn't say a lot, but yeah, they were ported.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody you know that did that? Like Mullins or anybody that you remember?
I don't know those guys. Butch Elkins locally at Diamond Racing.
Okay.
He did some.
All right.
And I really don't know who did the port work. Some of my motors came through the Rod Shop. Some of them came through a guy named Gary Ostrich in Iowa.
Okay.
And so I'm not really familiar with how all the bits and pieces came for every motor. I know later on I started doing my own. But by then, Chrysler had any part you could possibly want. Chrysler had it in their book.
Wow. Now I knew a guy that had it was called Groveport, Ohio. There's a guy named Bruce Meal. Do you remember Bruce Meal?
I don't.
Okay, he worked for the rod shop, and it must have been later on, maybe the later 70s or something.
Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't. I never. I had my own shop in Michigan, so I didn't spend a whole lot of time at the rod shop. So I don't really know all those guys.
Okay.
I knew like Jim Thompson and what's the other guy's name? Anyway, I did just a few of them.
Okay.
And like at that time, Dave Bortman was sponsored by them, and he lives in Michigan also. He lived in Muskegon, so I saw him quite a bit. But I didn't spend a lot of time in Ohio. I spent most of my time here in Troy, Michigan.
Now, the thing that I've seen, or I've heard, at least probably heard, because I've never seen it, but what you're known for is chassis work. In fact, I think Mike Keener told me you built one of his first cars. Am I right?
Right. Yes.
You did a lot of chassis work then.
I did, yes.
I don't know many guys from back in the day. There was a guy I've seen on Facebook, Ed Quay, I think his name is. He was a guy that did some chassis work, but I don't know a lot of fabricators.
Well, there was one other guy in Michigan had a chassis shop.
Tom Smith?
Yeah.
Wolverine chassis.
There you go.
Yep. I've heard of him before.
He had one, and then and that was about it for Michigan. For drag race stuff, anyway. The guys at Logie Brothers were supposedly known as a chassis shop, but they did funny cars and fuel cars, and they didn't do anything for us.
Okay. Yeah, I can see the Logie chassis, long rails going down with the V's in it. Now, what were you doing? 4-link stuff or ladder bar stuff? What was your specialty?
We started with 4-link.
Okay.
Pretty much all my stuff was 4-link, and I didn't get my first ladder bar set up until I bought a car from one of Dick Landy's customers, a Butler car.
Yep.
I bought one of them, and that had a ladder bar set up under it.
Wow. Okay. What were you? Did they have chromoly? Was that a big tubing back then, or was everything mild steel?
Well, the thick stuff, the big bars were all supposed to be made out of 1/8 wall, 125 wall mild steel.
Yep. And
we stuck to that pretty close, but the rest of it was chromoly.
Okay.
They were mostly like 049 and 065. We could build them a lot lighter with chromoly.
Oh yeah. I don't even know the difference between, is there a percentage that chromoly is, 20% lighter than mild steel? Any of those numbers?
Thickness wise, it's the same, but you could use so much thinner tubing and get the same strength. Chromoly tubing is very strong, hard to bend.
Okay.
Impossible to bend. Without heat treating it, you can't bend it.
I'm going to put us a little break here. Let me do a couple things. Riffle, good to see you. Everyone give DragBoss a little love and thumbs up. Yes, please give me the thumbs up and like this video. Mike Fons has taken time out of his schedule to be on here. He's a hard man to get a hold of, and I appreciate that, Mike. So thank you so much. Here's one that you'll like. This is from Tom Muskie. He's on here right now. He said the big cheese.
Yeah, that's what he called me.
So thanks, Tom, for hooking me up with Mike. It's been a while since we've been talking and trying to get this organized. I think we're going to go forward with a little bit more video, hopefully maybe tomorrow. Just depends on how it works out. We just wanted to kind of lay the path to show that, guys are still out there and they still want to tell their story. And it's history that we want to record, because you're never going to hear this again. It's not like it's going to be, these guys are repeating this history. It's done. These are the pioneers that we're talking to. So thank you for being here and hooking me up. One of the things that I had always wondered, and I can't remember what car it was that I saw, but a lot of cars were acid dip back then. Am I right?
Yes.
I remember seeing something where the guy was going down the track. I can't remember who it was, but it was so bad. You know who it was? It was Bruce Sizemore told me that his Pinto was so thin that the freaking window would pull out of the door just because it was flexing so much. Did you guys acid dip your cars?
Oh, yes, we acid dipped them all right.
Did you really?
Yeah, they were about, the average thickness was about half of whatever production was. And I believe at the time production stuff was like 34,000. So we were in the high teens. You know,
Wow.
16, 17, 18.
Easily put your hand on it and put a dent in it or crease it.
Yeah, or not. Just leave it overnight. It would do that.
Would it really?
Yeah. Like a big panel, like a roof.
Yeah.
You couldn't just leave it. We had to go underneath and reinforce it with some fiberglass or something. And the windshield frames had to be tended to, too, because they wouldn't hold their shape.
They would pull back from the wind.
Yeah, or just generally flex.
Just from the weight.
Yeah, they just from the wind mostly.
Okay.
I mean, those cars weren't designed to go 100 and whatever we were on them, 60 or something.
Yeah.
And in the first place, and then when you take half the metal away, you're in trouble.
Wow, that's crazy. I had seen, I think it was Don Carlton had a Colt where actually the windshield was part of the hood scoop. Some kind of,
it could be.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy to try and reinforce it.
That's the car he was killed in.
Was it really?
Yeah.
That Colt, okay. Yeah, I think he was running a D-stroke Hemi in that by Ted Spihar.
Yes.
Yeah, that was in Milan, I think.
Yes, it was.
I want to say it was like July 12th or something like that. July 5th or 12th.
I remember it was in the middle of the summer,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure I could. Believe it or not, at that time, Donnie had moved back to North Carolina.
Yep.
And he was building a shop there. He was just starting to build a shop there. And in fact, they'd done footings just the week before he was killed. But anyway, he had a house in Royal Oak, right near Spihar's place.
Yep.
And I rented it from him when he moved. So I was living there at that time in his house.
Wow.
Yeah. And he sold it to another friend of ours. That was the end of that.
I read something where one of the bolts for the harnesses broke or something, sheared off or something.
I don't have any accurate information on that. I know it was something similar to that. Yes.
Yep. There's a guy named, you ever hear of Dave Kofel?
Oh, yeah.
So about 15 minutes from my house is a place called Kofel's Place.
Yep.
So I'm going to try to get a hold of Dave. His son runs a shop now, but I got a great story to tell how Bob switched from Ford to Mopar. I don't want to spoil it because I'm making a video on it, but
I think Dave was still at Chrysler then.
Yes, he was. Yep, no doubt.
Now not too long after that, Dave he quit Chrysler and opened a shop somewhere near Detroit.
Okay.
And he ran that for years. And I kind of lost track of him. But I know now he's back in Ohio, wherever he came from. Yep,
Huron, Ohio.
Yeah. I believe he's living back in there. I don't know if it's a farm or what it is, but he's right where he started.
Did you?
And Susie.
That's his wife?
Yeah, Susie.
Okay. And then I had Joe Pappas on too. Did you happen to see that video?
I don't think I saw the video. I've talked to Joe a few times.
Okay.
I still talk to him pretty often.
It's like you guys were all like in the mix. I mean, everyone knew everybody back then, it seems. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, Joe went to school with my brother-in-law, my younger brother-in-law. That's how I met him.
Okay. Nice.
And he worked for me while he was going to school. And then he went over to Don Carlton and worked for him.
Okay. What was Don Carlton like? I mean, I see pictures of him He reminds me of like an engineer type dude with the glasses and a pocket protector. Was he like that, or was he more laid back?
No, he was a down home, down south guy. He wasn't. He wasn't the technical type.
Okay.
Smart guy, but he wasn't. He was no Tom Hoover.
Okay.
Tom was our resident genius.
He was a father of the Hemi, they say, right?
Yes, he was.
Is he still alive?
I don't know.
Okay, I don't either. I want to say he is.
Well, he's a few years older than me.
Okay.
He left Chrysler and went to General Electric, I think, upstate New York. And I kind of lost track of him after that.
That's crazy. It's great to talk to you to get this kind of history, And there's like 35 people on here, and we just decided to do a live. So that's what makes it kind of neat. People tuning in. I have a bunch of subscribers. Yeah. I think I'm at 16,000 something, which is, to me, that's a miracle. I'm just some guy working in his garage doing what he loves to do, and people enjoy hearing this.
Well, all this stuff is 50 years old, so it's getting to the point where not too many of us left.
I mean, really? I think Maskin died recently, a few years ago. Aaron's died, right? A couple of years ago.
Last summer, yeah.
Yep. Now Wally Booth's still alive. I know that.
Yes, he is.
I think he's got to be 80 something, in his mid 80s.
Yeah, mid 80s. Yeah.
So, I think Mike Keener was going to try to get a hold of him to see if we could get him on here, and I don't know. I'll see if I can get contact. If you know him, you let him know. DragBoss is looking for him.
Yeah, I don't know him. I don't have a phone number for him or anything.
Okay.
I mean, I knew him well then, but I lost track of him now. He got remarried and had another family and blah blah blah.
Yep, I get it.
Yeah.
But you're right. Guys that have done all this, and you're right, 50 something years ago, 54 years ago. People
we were in our 20s and 30s then, so we're not gonna last forever.
Don't you? And that's tough, man, to think about that, because I know I'm 58. And I already know my life's well half over.
Yeah.
And you look at your age at 78, and you must think like that. You think, geez, how many more years do I have? Don't you think like that or ever wonder?
Well, yeah. Especially when, I know that I'm deteriorating. I can't do what I used to be able to do. So I know it's closing in on me.
You don't do any car work at all anymore? Not in any?
No, I don't. No.
What do you like to do? What's your enjoyment?
Oh, there's a good question. I still have my shop. I fool around here. I got back into construction the last 20 years or so. And I do some light remodeling and little projects now. So I still do stonework. I'm a bricklayer by trade, so I'm doing stone chimneys and fireplaces and whatever I can find.
So I didn't know that you did that. I didn't know you're a mason.
Yeah, that's my trade. That's my my trade.
You were a mason before you started racing, or at least?
Yes.
Okay. So you would go and do work, whatever, build brick walls, whatever masons do, sidewalks, whatever. Probably more architectural. Yeah, but then you would go racing on the weekends, or however it worked out.
Yeah, for a year or two. I soon figured out I couldn't do both. So I believe it was in '69 I just gave up and went full-time racing.
Okay. I'll give a few shout outs to these guys that are here that are taking time out of their day to see us. We got Platform 2020. Good to see you from California. Philip Kustance, thanks for the 2 thumbs up. I appreciate it. Trunkback Jim. And it counts. The oral history can live forever. Rule books, stats, biographies only give us part of the history. What Tim doing is counts. Thank you. Because we're getting it right from the horse's mouth. We're not hearing some magazine article or reading it. We're hearing it right from Mike Fons, and that's cool. A lot of guys here. Riffle, another subscriber here, is 58. Via Clavino, he's from Las Vegas. He doesn't have his age, but he works as a mechanic at the Shelby Museum. Another guy from Texas, Ricky's House of Crap is his screen name. He's from Texas. I have a lot of subscribers from all over the U.S. and a lot of them from Australia, believe it or not, and other countries.
Yeah, I've been hearing that lately.
And people in like China and Guatemala and Russia are watching my YouTube channel. It just, why? It just makes me smile that people want to listen to this. Anthony, 55. Okay, there you go. But it's like I don't want to end it now because we could keep going, but I really want to do something with video if tomorrow. So we'll kind of wind it down a little bit, Mike. And I have to think of some different questions I want to ask you. And like I said, we're going to be general. We don't need to get in because I'll tell you, I have a hard time remembering specific numbers, times, and all that kind of stuff. But I want to get the history of like what it was like to do this, you know, and that's where we'll kind of pull off tomorrow. I know you had mentioned about doing work for like Gap and Roush. I won't say any more because I know you kind of mentioned it, but I couldn't hear you when we were talking on the phone. So we'll start off from there when we do this next about what we're going to talk about with Gap and Roush, because you have familiarity with those guys and Glidden and all those guys, right?
Yes.
Okay. That'll be fun to talk about. And I bet you I get a text from Mike Keener. I'll text him and tell him that we got in touch and we started working on this.
Listen, here's a little bit of trivia for you. We were on our way back from a match race, and we were in Ohio in the middle of the night, and I was following the Gap and Roush truck back.
Yep.
Well, that's when Bob Glidden bought it. You know, he bought a complete race car, truck, trailer, everything.
Oh, I didn't know he bought everything.
Yep. We left the drag strip, and we met Bob Glidden in a truck stop somewhere, and he drove it to Indiana, wherever he lives.
Indiana,
to Indiana. Yep. Everything, tools, everything. He took everything.
Wow. I have a picture of him at Milan driving the Gap and Roush car before it was switched over to his. It was a Pinto before he switched over to his colors and how he did things. I wonder if it's that same car.
Boy, I can't tell you which car it was.
Okay.
I don't think it was the 4-door car. I think it was a Pinto. But I'm not positive. That's why my mind's fuzzy. I'm not positive.
I bet you it was. You know, it just seems like it all fits. Him driving the car at Milan and then loading it and taking off, you know, but who knows? That's a great story, you know.
It is.
What we'll do is we'll talk about the stuff with Gap and Roush. And I was just seeing someone here mentioned, it said, Joe Sos, he says, let me put his, I read it so other people can listen to this in the garage. They don't have to look at me, but they can hear our conversation. Joe Sos says, I was working in Ronnie Kaplan Engineering when we build Nike Fins Duster and had altered wheelbases. So,
yeah, it was actually not a Duster. It was a Dodge, whatever those were. A Dart. Dart.
Oh. Okay.
And then I took it to California for the Winter Nationals. And then when I got home, that's when the rod shop thing ended. So that would have been like February of, what year would that have been? 73.
Okay.
73. And then Bob Riffle took it. He raced it that year.
Wow. It's just crazy. And you built the car.
Well, Ronnie Kaplan built the chassis. Yeah.
Okay.
But I built the car. Yeah.
Nice. Here's another guy, Trunkback Jim, said he's logging in. He's 50. And I like this. Tim, we really appreciate you taking the time to make contact and line up all these interviews. Priceless info for us car and drag race guys. And man, it sure is. I mean, this is the stuff that you're not going to find anywhere else. One of my things that I always say is that DragBoss Garage is where you're always seeing and learning something new. And have you ever done an interview before, Mike, like this?
I don't know.
There it is, guys.
Some back then, 50 years ago,
but nothing since then.
No.
That's so important that we get your story, because like I tell you, you're pivotal. You are like one of the guys that you are the man, so to speak.
Yeah. When I quit racing, it was just like quitting drinking. I just quit. I was done. I put all my Chrysler stuff in a pile in the middle of the garage floor, and Dave Kofel bought it.
Yep.
And that was the end of me and racing. I never went to the races. That was it. I was done.
Wow. That's funny, because that's how I quit drinking. I just quit, done, never to look at it again.
Yeah.
So I know that.
The same thing.
Yeah. Well, they're both addictive. I mean, any guy on here who watches this knows how addictive racing is. If you get that bug, once it's in your blood.
Yeah. I'd like to call it, instead of addicting, I'd like to call it just consuming. You know, you have to be dedicated to it, and it doesn't leave enough time for any kind of a normal life, and that's a mistake. They got to fix that. I think they have fixed it. These guys got to be able to have lives.
Well, there's a difference, I say, between, a driver and a racer. The drivers are the guy that gets in the car and takes it down the strip. The racer is the guy that can do that, plus build a transmission, plus a chassis, plus the engine.
Yeah.
Those are the racers. They're not drivers. Yeah.
We didn't have too damn many drivers back when I was doing it. Just about everybody was hands-on. Even some of the big names that you think would never turn a wrench, you'd be surprised. They all worked pretty damn hard.
I'm trying to think of the guy that used to drive for Grumpy, Larry Lombardo.
Oh yeah.
Now did he wrench? I think he wrenched, because I saw he had a shop in Pennsylvania.
That was his main job.
Okay. Someone had gave me his number, and I tried calling him, but it's just disconnected. So I was going to write him a letter.
Yeah.
The old-fashioned way.
If Grumpy had a crew chief, that's who it would have been.
He was a good shoe?
Yeah. It was Larry Lombardo, and was his name Joe Trison? Another guy that was one of his main, the guys I saw all the time. I've never been to Jenkins' shop, so I wouldn't know anybody there.
Okay.
But I saw these guys every week. We were somewhere every week.
So Jenkins had the cars, whatever, one or two, the toys we call them. So he had a couple cars, and then he had other guys driving them. Am I right?
Yeah, not to a large extent, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't do like Sox and Martin did, where they put mechanics in a car pretty much full time. No, he didn't do that.
Okay.
But he had guys that would drive for him when they needed to, I guess.
I'd seen Larry Lombardo. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There was another guy that drove one of Grumpy's cars, whose name I can't remember right now. It's from California. And he was the rare exception. That guy drove that car, and that's all.
Okay.
But everybody else was a mechanic or something.
I'd seen where Larry Lombardo said that Grumpy couldn't drive that good. He said he wasn't as good as you might think.
It's not rocket science. You don't have.
No, he said better to be lucky than good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. That was actually Ronnie Sox. He was superstitious.
Was he really?
Oh yeah. Very superstitious. Yes, he was.
No kidding. So am I.
No engineer, that boy.
I'll tell you a secret. Every surgeon you see out there that does surgery, they're all superstitious, let me tell you. It's a fact. And I think that's probably, you don't say that it's not, hey, that isn't bleeding too bad, is it? You never say stuff like that, I got a comment from a subscriber, Bill Fioretti. Hey, Tim, didn't know about this live today. Just happened to fire up the computer and here you and Mike are. Saw Mike compete many times. Would have spread the word, but we'll enjoy the remainder. Thanks. You know what, Bill? Like I said earlier when we first started this, I don't know what it was. I had worked on my car yesterday, and I have some issues. I'll get into that another time. And I have a bunch of stuff to ship. And so I started shipping stuff, and I said, I wonder what Mike Fons is doing. Boom, I'm going to call him. So I called, and I don't even think I left a message. And the next thing I know, the phone's ringing. It says Mike Fons. I said, I better pick this up. And sure enough, that's how it all started. So the stars were aligned.
Well, I'm glad it worked out.
So am I. I really am. It just makes me smile. Here's another one. Let's see. And this kind of brings, let me get my mouse is kind of going crazy. It says here, the internet's starting to get funny. So if we got cut off, guys, that's the end of the show. So I'm just telling you ahead of time. We're kind of winding down anyways. But Rick Norrington said, definitely a balance between racing, working, and family. And that's what Mike said. It's hard to be a racer and probably have a family. Am I right, Mike?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. One or the other or both are going to suffer.
Andy from Unity Motorsports Garage. Howdy, folks. Awesome stuff. Thank you, Andy. It really is. I mean, it just blows me away that this all kind of worked up and aligned in the stars, just like I had said. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. He has a YouTube channel called Unity Motorsports Garage, and he's got a huge following, like 30,000 subscribers he just hit. So someday I'll get there, but I'm more of a, things happen to me when they happen to me. That's how, just like you and I didn't pressure you. Did I call you every week?
No.
Nope. I said, you know what? If he knows my number, if he wants to get a hold of me, call me. If not, it ain't no big deal. I'm not going to worry about it. So things will happen when the time comes. And that's just how it is here. Another guy, David Reed, said, where are you located, ED? I work at Port Clinton, Ohio, Magruder Hospital in the emergency department. So that's where, but I'll tell you the truth, for 10 years. Now I'm kind of working in the urgent care setting. I only want to work another 7 years and I want to be retired. I'm an old man. To me, 58's old. I can't imagine.
So my daughter retired. I told you. My daughter retired at 57.
Well, I didn't know she retired at 57.
Yep.
Wow. Now she was an ER doc, or what did she do?
Well, she was a chief medical officer at a hospital chain when she quit.
Okay.
She had 9 hospitals.
Wow.
In Lansing, Michigan.
Okay.
Where Michigan State is. It's a Michigan State affiliate.
Amazing. Yeah, I'd like to do this full time. I mean, I don't have enough subscribers and money coming in, but I would eventually like to just do this, ride around to people, meet them, do live chats like this, talk to the old racers, like you said. And I hate saying it, but they're just not around like they used to be. Guys are dying every day, famous people.
Better not wait if that's what you're going to do, because we're not getting any younger, buddy.
Man, ain't that the truth? Wow. We've been talking for about 38 minutes, Mike. There's 38 people on here listening to us talk. So you're like at a seminar.
Okay.
So
well, we better finish this up tomorrow then.
That's exactly what we're going to do. So guys, I appreciate you being here. I'm talking to the subscribers, Mike, and thank you for being here. We're going to sign off. Mike and I are going to talk after this for a minute and see if we can make this come full circle for tomorrow. And that's just giving you a taste of what's more to come. So like I always say, when you listen or watch DragBoss Garage, you're always going to see something new or something you've never seen before. So stay tuned. Say bye, Mike.
Goodbye.